Thank you so much, everyone, for being here this evening. I am truly grateful and humbled to be receiving this Champions of Freedom Award. But really, you all are the champions, and that makes this mean so much more to me. Joanne and her group have always been top of the line for me whenever I look out for those that are truly standing for what's right and for freedom. You know, we've been asked so many times over the years as we've been politically active, what keeps us in this? What makes us go do this and fight these fights day in and day out? Well, as usual, I like to use a visual aid, and this is what does it. This is our grandchild, and that's what should have us all out there fighting this fight. We need to be investing in the future. We want our children and our grandchildren now to grow up in the same world that we grew up in, with the same freedoms and the same expectations of freedoms. And that's truly what keeps us in this fight day in and day out. Again, thank you all for this award. Thank you for the fight that you all have been putting up for all these years. Thank you, Joanne, so much for putting this together. And thanks to all the other recipients tonight, because I know most all of you all, and I so appreciate what you all have done. Again, thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Belsick, and I've been asked to explain what motivates me. Why do I do what I do? To answer that question, I have to start that I grew up in California, born and raised there, raised a family there, worked there. But once I retired, and that was about 7 years ago, I knew I couldn't stay. California had changed so drastically over my lifetime. It's hard to imagine that Ronald Reagan was our governor at one point. And today, it's all different. It is liberal land. And there is no way I could even influence anything. The only Republicans are in the Central Valley, and they are few and far between. So I moved to Texas, where I had an opportunity to say what I wanted to say and express an opinion. And I do have lots of opinions, which is why I love going to the Capitol. I will testify on Second Amendment rights, which is my main focus, but I'll cover election integrity, border, education, you name it. I have an opinion on it, and I have an opportunity to express it and try to influence the representatives there that are making all these important decisions. I go at least once a week, sometimes twice, and I'll spend all day there, and I enjoy it. There's a lot of camaraderie between the people that I see there all the time, so we come a little pack, if you will, to sometimes go do this committee versus that committee. So I enjoy what I do. And I want to thank Joanne Fleming and Grassroots America for the guidance and insight to everything that's going on, which helps influence my opinions. And I can't say more than just thank you.
What a historic year we have had in the 88th Texas Legislature. It is an honor tonight to receive this award from Joanne Fleming and Grassroots America. I've been asked tonight to give an inspirational 2 minutes on how I got involved in politics as a pastor, and we have to really back up to junior high. Mrs. Hawthorne in the 7th grade said to me, "Brandon, you're either going to be a pastor or a politician." Well, I became both because I didn't know that you actually could be both. Fast forward to 2017, and I got involved in a local city council race here in Frisco, Texas to run. And even though I came in second place in that race, it inspired me to continue on with my passion. I ran with many conservatives like Tom and Tony Fabry, who are a part of Grassroots America, and others that inspired me to keep going even after my loss. And so from there, we formed a PAC that really began to help local candidates get elected, Then we got involved with President Trump's election in 2020, and then that led us to lobbying at the Texas legislature in 2022 and 2023. And what that's resulted in is basically lobbyists that have come together from all across the state of Texas to go down on buses to the state capitol and to lobby in front of our lawmakers to make sure that we get conservative legislation passed in the state of Texas. Tonight, I am proud to report that we have 17 bills that were passed that protect Texas kids from sexualization, and it was a groundswell effort like Grassroots America and other groups that came together to lobby 84,000 hours in the legislature over 12 different bus trips to make sure that we got those laws passed. So tonight, thank you so much for this award, and I want to thank all of the people who've been involved with North Texas Conservatives that went on those buses and those that financially contributed to make those bus trips possible. And I'm sorry that I cannot be there in person tonight to receive this award, but I want to thank my friend Tricia Miller for being there upon my behalf tonight. God bless you guys and keep up the good work.
I am very thankful to be a part of this program. I had no idea until being notified that this award existed, and very appreciative. It's with a lot of gratitude to Grassroots America that all of the effort is even put into this. I have been asked the question about why do I do the things that we try to do, and one of my favorite verses is James 1:23, which essentially goes, "The man that knows the good to do and doesn't do it is like the man that looks himself in the mirror and knoweth not." So that speaks to me a lot, because these days there's a lot of good to do. We are not thirsty for good works. Any direction you turn, there's going to be plenty of work to do. And speaking of that, I think that we need to probably embrace our principle of self-government. You know, John Adams actually said, we have no government armed with power that is capable of contending with the passions of the people, unbridled by morality and Scripture. Now that does call to question. Some might think that John Adams gave our government a blueprint to create more power. But I think for us, what we need to do is draw some inspiration and find our own self-government, because without it, then we're going to have external government come to bear. In terms of doing, I am reminded of 1 Corinthians 13:6. Most people think of that as the love chapter, and in fact it is. But verse 6 tells us a little bit more. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. And we've had a lot of delighting in evil these days going on. And we need to stop that. We need to stop looking the other way and stop doing something about it, and instead rejoicing in truth. Bonhoeffer actually also said something that inspires me a lot, and it is that silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. To speak is to, or to not speak is to speak, and to not act is to act.
So I'm going to tell you guys my why. I woke up the day after the November 3rd, 2020 election, and everything felt wrong. I felt like I had been trusting my government, and I was walking around blind, but that day made a difference in my life forever, because I realized that we can't fix FedGov, and there's 2.5 million unelected bureaucrats and 440 federal agencies that dictate every move of our life. And so I shifted my attention to Texas, because my little voice isn't audible in DC. But here in Texas, Texas is our home. These are our neighbors. This is the community we live in. My kids are here, and I fully expect that our grandkids are gonna live here one day. And this is the place that I can do the most good. And so I started digging into Texas politics and what makes our government work and where I could be effective. And through joining Grassroots America, True Texas Project, I started reading a lot of things from Texas Public Policy Foundation, Texas Scorecard, The Texan, educating myself on what was broken and what shoes I could fill. And so I found the Texas Nationalist Movement. And to me, Texas is worth saving. And I think that we need to be a free and independent nation. I think that would help us, help our children inherit a land of freedom and self-governance and limited government. And so in this journey, I've learned a ton through all the great organizations that we have. And I try to share that with everybody I come in contact with. I am a motor mouth. But I'm going to keep moving forward because I do feel that God has called me for such a time as this. And if not me, then who? So I'm in the fight because I want our grandkids to inherit a land of freedom and liberty. And it's worth every bit of sacrifice that we put forth, whether it's your time or your treasure, and even down to your life. And I just want to thank Grassroots America and Joanne Fleming for honoring me with this award. It is such a blessing to have her in my life and another mentor to me to teach me things about politics and Texas government so that I can move forward in knowledge and activate others around me and get them engaged in this battle of good and evil that we are in right now.
All right, well, first I'd like to thank Joanne and the Grassroots America, We the People folks for this honor and this award. It truly is an honor for me. You know, my journey is probably like most others' journeys. I started as a teen at 18 voting for the first time, and then when I got married, I went in and started as an election clerk. I had a gentleman in our church who said, "Hey, why don't you be an election clerk? I think you really need to undertake that." So that's what I did. I jumped in, became an election clerk, election judge, and I really thought that's where I needed to be, and that's where God had been calling me to do, so that I could basically give our children a great country and keep our country great. Well, I really wish I knew knew then what I knew today, and that is the fact that things are really different, and we're losing our country to Marxist communists. And so I started getting a little bit more involved 7 or 8 years ago. My wife and I started, actually for the first time, going to the state convention for the Republican Party of Texas, and we learned a lot. We actually thought, you know, we can do more than what we're doing today as an election judge and election integrity. So I stepped up and started doing more of that, and I never wanted to actually run for the State Republican Executive Committee. What's really strange is I eventually felt called into that position a couple years ago, got into it, and began working even stronger and harder for our principles, our conservative principles, to help save this country. And what's really motivates me is a quote I like to give from Teddy Roosevelt. It's an extremely good quote, and it talks about the man in the arena. So I'll just read the quote here for you. "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming, but who knows the greatest enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. So that is his place, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat." I really feel like I'm that man in the arena and who's fighting for this country. And it's truly an honor to do that, even though I do fail often, but there's been times when there's been those high achievements. So that really is where I like to see, that's really where I like to see myself.
To say that I am utterly shocked to be receiving this award tonight is an understatement. In fact, when the email came through, I wasn't sure I was even reading it correctly. I called Kristen Bentley, she didn't answer the phone. I called Christina Drury, she didn't answer the phone. So I finally sent Joanne a text message, and her response was, "Sister, did you eat a goofball sandwich for lunch? Of course you're getting this award." And I just still cannot believe it, and I'm actually wearing waterproof mascara tonight. I just appreciate Grassroots America, We the People, so much, and Joanne and her organization, and the fact that they speak truth. We are in a crisis in America where we're not standing on truth, yet the Bible tells us to stand on truth. And it's no wonder that our children think that there's 240 something genders, or that we're whacking off children's healthy body parts. We are in a crisis. I launched into politics when Abbott overplayed his hand by mandating that businesses had to shut down and deeming who was essential and who wasn't essential. As a small family business owner, I couldn't imagine who was going to pay our bills. I mean, I wasn't going to rely on the government. And so I started taking constitutional classes because I clearly missed something in school. I knew in my core that something wasn't right, but I didn't know that it was actually violating the law. And I love learning, I love knowledge, and so I started attending any and every meeting that I could find. And I just vowed that I wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And I truly believe that when our founding fathers thought about us all these generations later, they were leaving something behind. I am terrified where we are as a nation. I cannot think past myself and my children, let alone grandchildren. And so I believe that we are under attack, and our government is the perpetrator of a lot of this. We have got to hold the line, we have got to rise up, and we have got to fight back with our presence and with holding our elected officials accountable. And we want transparency. And those are the things that have brought me to the fight. And I just appreciate, again, all of the mentors, Cindy Castilla, Terry Hall, Joanne, for taking me under their wing and allowing me to help them in their organizations and to teach me all the things that I don't know. And I love these ladies so much. Thank you again.
Hello, thank you Joanne and Grassroots America for having me here. I'm really happy to be here. I started Protect Texas Kids because I was a student at the University of North Texas, and while I was there, I led a chapter of the Young Conservatives of Texas. And I experienced firsthand just how brainwashed most of my classmates were. I would say 95% of them. And I realized that that's not something that just happens overnight. You don't just step foot on a college campus and immediately become brainwashed. So I started looking into it, and this process starts way sooner than college. At a very young age, kids are being targeted. And as I was researching this, I realized, it's the education system, but it's also just this wokeness and this propaganda that's being forced on our kids. It's embedded into the culture at this point. And I really wanted to do something to fix this. So that's why I started Protect Texas Kids. And with that, I've gone out over this past year and I've been doing a lot of protests. So all of these supposed drag shows for kids around the DFW area, we've gone out, we've protested. A lot of these clinics where doctors are transitioning children, we've also protested out there. We've gotten some shut down, we've gotten some of these drag shows canceled. And at the end of the day, I'm really just trying to raise awareness of what's going on and get this stuff shut down. During the legislative session this spring, I was down in Austin testifying quite a bit. And we did get a lot of really good stuff passed during the session, but we also have a lot more work to do. So I really just found that going out, protesting, and speaking up about these issues, raising awareness is what we need from people, and that's what I've been doing. So that's pretty much a rundown of Protect Texas Kids.
Well, I guess if I'm going to talk about why I do what I do, I need to start with when I was a teenager raised in Arkansas in the oil field. We had freedom to do everything. I worked derricks when I was 11. We were in the oil business and we almost didn't make a living out of it. It's so bad. I was saved when I was a teenager. Later I moved to West Texas. All this time I was concerned about freedom and liberty, but not doing a lot about it. For years I ran the business and built it up, and I'd work a lot of times 7 days, 12 hours a day, and so I wasn't as active in doing things as I should. And more as I got older and realized where the country was going, it was going to hell in a handbasket. And one reason was because Christians wasn't doing the things they needed to do. I started getting a lot more involved in Christian things to help them and political things, and realized that politics is a Christian duty. The thing is, he said, elect out godly leaders. And he also said in the Bible, Jesus said to be not weary of well-doing, for in due time then you will reap if you don't fail. So we need the 3 different verses in there that says be not weary in well-doing. So I thought I need to be doing that. I need for the community and need to do it for political, which is for the whole nation and actually for the world. And I just got more and more involved, and then after retiring I've been a lot more involved. And I try to support people that have the same values that I believe we should all have. I'm real hard-headed about what I believe, but I'm not so obstinate that I won't change my mind if I realize what I think is wrong. And I try to support people that are that way. One of the things I've talked to many about is the book of Confrontational Politics, because it shows how people do in politics better than any book I've read. And what we're doing so many times is electing people and sending them to Washington and even to Austin, that a year or 2 later we look and think, who are they? That's not who we elected and sent. So we're trying to stop that. One of the things that we've done, and it's because the Lord sent her, Teresa Begmeyer came here. I found what she was doing in Austin was exactly what we thought needed to be done, and me in particular. And over the time she's been working here with us, a lot of the success we've had politically, and most of it, been because of what she's done. But the thing is, it's vetting candidates. It's trying to be sure that the people are what they say they are. And it's so important that we send the right ones and that they stay right. You can send somebody that's right that changes and does bad. You know, there's an old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The Second World War was started with a lot of people hating Hitler that had the best of intentions that didn't know what they were doing. Many times that happens. And there are things that I could even quote if we had time, where people have said things about well-intentioned people, the bad things that they often do because they're set in their way. And unlike a tyrant, they don't tire of what they're doing. They never seem to tire. We have to watch for those people. We need to elect godly people that follow the foundations that we all know this nation was formed on, and that's the Holy Bible. That's the law we all need to base anything else from. And originally we did, but we varied far from that today. And as a consequence, I think our nation is being punished today for that. We need to get back to the very words Trump said. We need to make America great again. However he meant it, I don't know, but that is exactly, we were great when we followed godly principles in everything that we do. Perfect, no, but great, yes. And now the other side even is ashamed to admit that we are a great nation, or were. One thing I'd like to emphasize is our founding fathers never wanted us to be a democracy. They feared a democracy and loathed it. They wanted what we have is a constitutional republic. You seldom see people that say that. I've even tried to get word to Tucker Carlson because he says it's democracy without realizing what he's saying over and over and over. When people realize that democracy is not our friend, it is our enemy that has allowed us to move away from the constitutional republic of laws that were based on biblical principles. Democracy has taken us away from all that. So I just encourage everybody that I come in contact with to get involved, to vote, and vote the right way. Raphael was here recently, Raphael Cruz, and that's what he's saying, Dick. When you said to have them vote their conscience, we don't need them to vote their conscience. We need them to vote biblical principles, because so many false prophets are teaching people things that their consciences are not like they don't line up with the Bible. And we need to make our votes. We need to vote. That is a responsibility we have as Christians, and we need to make sure that our vote aligns with the Bible in every respect.
So I got involved in all of this kind of by accident. I lived in a small town, and there was a couple of opposing entities that were trying to use the power of government against one another, and everyone else was just kind of along for the ride. So I got involved and ultimately ended up serving 8 years in local government in 2 different cities. Had kind of semi-retired from that kind of lifestyle and moved out to the country and kind of got away from things. And I really just wanted to be left alone. And then, you know, fast forward to 2020, whenever we had the COVID and the just clear assault on our liberties, our medical freedom. It was one of those things that just really prompted me to get involved. And so went to our local GOP, started trying to get involved with them, and found out that they were pretty inactive. And so ultimately we ended up founding our own grassroots organization. And so the grassroots organization has just went very well for us, and we have reached a lot of folks and a lot of audiences. And so through that process, I got to meet Joanne. Joanne is a legend in Texas grassroots politics, and it was an honor to meet her, and she's spoken at a couple of our events. And to be able to receive this award from an organization that she's a part of is probably more meaningful than any other award I've ever been considered for, both in personal and professional life. So this is an absolute honor to be recognized by Joanne and Grassroots America, We the People. So thank you so much for considering me and honoring me with this award.